Good evening, greetings from the Institute of Global Professional IGP, greetings from the Institute of Global Professional IGP. Thank you all for joining us and staying with us till the end. Honorable Knowledge Seeker, today I am your host for the evening. My name is Badhum Dash. I am from Bangladesh. Dear Knowledge Seeker, I am proud to be associated with IGP. IGP is Social and IS Certified International Educational and Training Institute. In last 3 years, we already served 35 million plus knowledge seekers from 100 plus countries. IGP is internationally recognized and globally accredited. We are connected to more than 450 plus profession and 4,500 plus organization. Institute of Global Professional is an education institute that provides social work globally recognized and reportable. We serve student community resource providing holistic social work and education. We believe that it's not effective to increase one skill just by offering formal education. So we provide effective training and consultation to generate professional generation all over the world. We distribute our services locally, nationally, internationally to students, job seeker, job holder, and also for learner, the respective campus location and distance learning platform. We are an occupational and dependable institute. IGP is one of the famous online institute from all over the world. Our vision is education is not a business product, it's a part of our human rights. Based on our vision, we are trying to reach all corners of the world for free webinars, seminar courses about quiz competition, mentoring, and counseling, etc. On the other side, we are also trying to offer more than 100 premium services for free, like create own portfolio website, resume builder, cover letter, motivation letter, and wall knowledge platform for gathering general knowledge which can update all day. Kids learning game website, free course, converse sites, and many more. We help empower you to learn to meet their expectation and dream and become highly skilled people. We implement several training program, webinar, and offline online courses for youth and learner by professional trainer, speaker, and coaches. Our sessions are conducted by globally renowned professionals to develop all kind of youth and promote the education of their abilities and personalities. Spreading knowledge is crucial for the Institute of Global Professional. We believe that knowledge is love and light and vision. So we try to understand the needs of today's generation and will serve them with good research and practice method. We must have a genuine concern for the learner we present. More diversity, growth, and innovation are required to lead a session with professionalism, passion, and integrity. RGB member are committed to offering effective best quality service and continuous improvement so that individuals who seek information can improve their skill level and value. Before we move to the next, let me remind, don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friend in the comment box. The support is very valuable for us. Thank you. Before we move to the next, let me remind, don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friend in the comment box. The support is very valuable for us. Thank you. Moving to the next with your continuous support, we already completed 1991 webinars successfully. Moving to the next with your continuous support, we already completed 1991 webinars successfully. Dear IGP speaker, participant, and well wisher, at this moment, this is a very important message for you all. We change and design our website www.edoigp.com. On this website, we have surprise for everyone. Hope you will be benefited. We already launched our new website where you can find all our previous activities together with lots of new features. But one strong point is that without an account logged in, you cannot enjoy our service. So create your account for us with profile information. Note that with profile information, you'll enjoy our feature. With mismatched data, you cannot do anything here. From now on, you have to participate in live quiz competition on our website. We replace slide. You have to join directly on our website. Now you can check all of our previous webinars with verified e-certificate. Now it's easier and time limited because after the session, we will not provide you any code for certification. You have to take part in one exam. After that, if you pass, you will receive your certificate, otherwise not. But you can take part in an exam unlimited till you pass. If you're an IGP speaker, you can download all your previous certificate, speakership certificate. If you're a host of IGP, you can download a certificate of gratitude. If you're an online live quiz competition winner, you can download a certificate of participation. If you're selected for a lifetime membership, then you can download a certificate of lifetime membership easily. Besides this, if you participate in an award function which organizes combined support with IGP, you can download that also. You can easily prepare and download 18 types of certificate from our website within a minute. Certificate of Global Professional Membership, Certificate of Global Influences in the Pandemic, Certificate of Active Knowledge Seeker, Certificate of Social Activities in the Pandemic, Certificate of Achievement IGP Knowledge Seeking Game in 2020, 2021, and 2022, Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 1, Authentic Assessment in Teaching Learning, Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 2, Teaching with Foreign Language and Assessment, Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 3, Digital Classroom Engagement 2, Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 4, the new trend in education, Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 5, Upskill Management Skills, Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 6, Trend and Innovation in Mathematics Education, Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 7, Research a Comprehension Approach, Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 8, Art in Teaching a Special Program in the Arts, Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 9, 21st Century Student Teaching Mathematics, Certificate of IGP Corporate Ambassador, Certificate of IGP Campus Ambassador, which you can prepare and download within a minute. From now on, you can participate in 1000 plus international level quizzes with verified certificate. Teaching tips for teacher, health tips for parents, health tips for teens, gamification tools for teacher. You can join IGP alumni. You can check out our previous services website for free and many more. Dear IGP well-wisher, we promised previously, but lack of technical problem, we're late sending you on time. This is a great opportunity to collect your previous condition to solve all issue from our website. Now you can enroll, reset password, everything, and check out the video for all webinar details. It's a cordial request to check all button and pages on our website. Share, like, and see be benefited. Thank you, but note that without an account or login, you cannot enjoy our service. At present, we are going to start our 1992 webinar, which name is Mobilizing Research Across Different Platforms. And today, our speaker's name is Irel Jones G. Moiko. He is from Philippines. Before I hand over the stage to our speaker, sir, I want to share a very little bit about him. Associate Professor 5, Department of Arts and Science, Taguyum College, Philippines. Now, very important moment for me to invite our speaker to IGP with his presentation. Now, very important moment for me to invite our speaker to IGP with his presentation. Hello, sir. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Sir, please present your presentation.
Oh, sure. Let me just open my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. The stage is yours. You can start your presentation now.
Hey, a pleasant day to everyone. So, to formally start things, when we speak of research, it has many benefits. In fact, nowadays, you can't really live a life or you can't really have a productive life if not for the advances made in research. In fact, in our recent problem with the COVID-19 pandemic, research played a significant role in addressing and perhaps mitigating the adverse effects that was brought about by this particular issue. It's not just in health, but I suppose in many facets, perhaps in business, education, and many other facets that can be covered. Now, if you take a look closely at this slide, you can see here icons, right? So if you're familiar with the icons, I believe you can recognize that these are just some of the platforms. Now, when we speak of platforms in many platforms in mobilizing your research. What we will talk about for this lecture will be some of what I know. In fact, there's actually quite a lot of platforms that can use to mobilize your research. But for the meantime, we'll just stick with this since I believe these were the platforms that I determined that seem to be user friendly. So we have their recognizable icons. If you're familiar with these platforms, you have ResearchGate, Google Scholar, Academia, and Mendeley. So these are the different platforms that you can actually use in order for you to have your research be viewed by a wider audience. Now, what are then the benefits of mobilizing your research in these different platforms? Of course, it adds more eyes onto your publication, thus increasing the potential for your citation. Now, from an academic perspective, the citation has been a determining factor of the kind of impact that your research has in the community. Because when you speak of citation, this would mean that your paper is not just read, but it is cited by authors. Now, aside from that, another benefit that you can look into in mobilizing or bothering to mobilize your research is the potential for collaboration with researchers not just in the locale, but all over the world. Lucky are we now since with so many advances in technology it has become easier to actually collaborate with many researchers. We're not just living in our own island. In fact, the more we collaborate with more researchers, the more we begin to understand that there are many ways of how we can look into a particular social issue. It's not just a social issue, but perhaps other items or other things that you could see and delve into. And more importantly, as you begin to collaborate with other researchers all over the world, it now becomes a means for you to establish a network of academicians that you can tap, not just tap, but perhaps work with these academicians. What is most interesting here is that when we speak of establishing your network, it's not just limited to your field. So in my case, I am in the field of language study. But when we speak of my research interests, it's not just limited into language study, but I might be interested in other facets that can be interrelated with language study. That perhaps I can find, or actually, I'm looking for a expert in the field of pedagogy, as I would want to delve into talks as to what potential research can be done with the coordination of pedagogy and language study. So these are just some of the benefits that would be maximized if you would recognize the potential for mobilizing your research into different platforms. Now, when we speak of mobilizing your research across different platforms, when the term here is mobilization. So when there is effective mobilization of research, it's really about getting the findings of your research to the people who can make use of them and not just use the research but maximize the benefit of the research without delay. Now, I'm sure those who are aware of the research process that there will be beneficiaries and perhaps you're actually doing research in order for those beneficiaries to be helped in your research. So you're not just doing research for paperwork, but rather it's the kind of findings that you arrive in your research, and you have to uh, put or find a way or find a means of how your results should be communicated to your beneficiary. Now, when we speak of identifying your beneficiaries, that's another concept altogether. But when we speak of mobilization, it's really trying to put your research and how your research should be used by people who will benefit it the most. And besides, when we speak of research, it's really of no use unless your research gets to the people who can benefit from it. In fact, this is a ever growing dilemma in, I believe, not just in the Philippines, but perhaps in the academe. That when we speak of research, it's not just a requirement. More often than not, this is actually one of the things I wish to uh, to persuade to younger researchers or my students in college, that they're not just doing research because it's a requirement that they have to do to finish a degree, but rather the purpose of why you're doing research is that you're doing research so that you can help the community. And if you're just doing research as a means of completing a degree, then perhaps what you're doing there is not really research at all. It has to have a tangible component in which this component can be used in order to help a target population. Now, one question might be asked: will it be difficult when we speak of mobilizing your research into different platforms? One might say that perhaps back in the day where the internet was very slow, or perhaps you live in a community where the internet seems to be very slow, then perhaps there's going to be an issue. But I suppose nowadays, with the rampant advancements of technology, where internet, I believe, is readily available to many places all over the world, then perhaps the answer to the question of the difficulty with respect to mobilizing your research across different platforms is going to be a different case. So, will it be difficult? It's actually easier than you think. In fact, with what I mentioned earlier, that there are actually so many platforms. But again, for this lecture, we'll be sticking with two basic platforms. And in fact, later on, we're going to go over how you can start using the platform. And I'll be even going through the platform, like how are you going to connect with people, like what's the platform for. So that's the gist of this particular lecture. In fact, with going back to what I said, with so many platforms available, it is very easy to start. It's just a matter of exploring. Of course, uh, we should not be afraid to explore so many things, as this can help us learn more. In fact, we learn so many things every day. Now, we go back to that question: how can one mobilize their research across different platforms? Now, one method that was done prior to the 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 propagation of the internet was actually attending a research congress, not just online, but attending physical congress. Like how is your research then mobilized if you attend a research congress? Most specifically, if you're presenting in a research congress face to face, you get to meet other researchers who will be interested in your research topic, or it would be the other way around, wherein you will get to meet other researchers that you will find their research fascinating. And that now becomes the impetus of collaboration. So you try to have small talks with them, exchange cards, and exchange contacts. And that's technically the primitive phase of how you can mobilize your research, because you are now forcing a sort of dynamic conversation, a dynamic exchange between other researchers, wherein it's not just your research being talked about, but it's also other researchers, or perhaps topics that you are ready to explore or to conduct a research. In fact, with respect to attending a research congress now, attending a research conference now has actually become easier, because there are other alternatives. In fact, the way that we're doing the this particular lecture right now is actually a very dynamic way of how you get to meet other researchers. In fact, there are many organizations who are organizing online research congress. Although, in terms of the communication, there seems to be things that can be lost in translation. But I suppose that that's part of the convenience aspect, because if you're going to attend a congress at the comforts of your household, there will be certain limitations. But going back to my point, that as you attend research congresses, you'll get to meet more people who will share same ideas, same interest, and this now brings into the picture of you exchanging ideas with other researchers. Of course, second is if you're into research, you will most likely have published your paper in a journal. Now, when we speak of the research writing process, it does not really end in publishing your paper in a research journal, because once it's published, it now becomes, you as a researcher, it now becomes your responsibility as to how you're going to share your results. Although one might say that it's the job of the journal, but depending now on the copyright agreement, you can still share your published paper, for as long as you're not going to have it published again, because that's now an issue of copyright infringement. But more of how you're going to share your research results once it's published. Others might say that you can use social media as a means. That's actually a very interesting take. Although what I've observed in my area, that there seems to be this hesitance on sharing their research results on social media, because there seems to be a what you call this awkwardness, because a lot of academicians, perhaps in our locale, still believe that social media is intended for nonsensical social small talk, but when in reality you can actually use social media to 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 communicate results, to meet other researchers. Perhaps it depends on the platform. Now, going back here to mobilizing research, can actually what you can do to mobilize your research across different platforms. You can manage your Google Scholar profile. So, to those who are attending right now, if you're familiar with Google Scholar, you can contribute to Google Scholar not just by publishing your research, having it indexed in the compendium of Google Scholar, but you can also contribute to your research by actually managing your Google Scholar profile. That would depend though, because not all papers seem to be indexed in Google Scholar. So you have to find other means, because you can't really manually upload a paper in Google Scholar. Like, you have to find a database that is picked up by Google Scholar. But anyway, we'll talk more about that later. And next one is you upload your published papers in online repository. So this is what I mentioned earlier, that there seems to be this confusion that Google Scholar is an online repository, but rather it's Google Scholar scans journals or websites that have papers published, and it happens to picked up by Google Scholar. Now, this was the question I mentioned earlier. Rather, we're going to walk through Google Scholar. I'm going to show you. So let me just share screen for a while. I think my screen can be seen by everyone. Anyway, so what you have here is the how you can set up your Google Scholar profile if you just type Scholar Google. So set up your Google Scholar profile. Takes time to load. Then what you have there is you're going to input the necessary details. So you have there the necessary details, of course. The staple is, of course, your name. So you have there your name. If you just walk through it, it seems that I'm the only one seen in the screen. Anyway, so if you try to look up Google Scholar, then you're going to see there your name, you have your affiliation, you have email verification, and then your age of interest. Then once you click next, you'll be redirected to a link of papers. Yes, a link of papers. Once you are done clicking the papers there, you'll observe you'll observe that you get to click papers that you'll publish. Now here's the problem: if you don't have papers indexed in Google Scholar, then that's going to be a minor issue because you can have a profile, but it won't be public if you don't have, or it won't become public if you don't have, what you call this, you don't have a published paper. So it's very important for you to have a published paper for that. Now let me go back to my slides. Now, aside from Google Scholar, you can also use ResearchGate. So when you say ResearchGate, it's actually a professional network for scientists and researchers that will help researchers connect and make it easy for them to share and access scientific output, knowledge, and expertise. Now, the difference between Google Scholar and ResearchGate is that in Google Scholar, you only see your profile, although you can communicate with other scholars in Google Scholar by extracting their email and you emailing them. In ResearchGate, it's similar to how social or how a social media platform functions. You can set up a profile, and you can even have a profile picture. You can even connect with other researchers directly using the platform. And not only that, you can also ask questions, and you can send a direct message to other researchers who are in ResearchGate. And what you only need, of course, is try to connect it with your institution. The same can be said for Google Scholar. Because if your institution is recognized by Google Scholar, then you can be a part of one organization. In our case, we are required to have this so that we will be enlisted as part of the researchers in our organization. So going back to ResearchGate, uh, another difference between ResearchGate and Google Scholar is that with the use of ResearchGate, you can directly send a message to researchers. It's very reminiscent to what Facebook or any other social media platform that you use, like be it Instagram or even YouTube. You can send a direct message to other researchers and you just connect with them there. Okay. So, in essence, when you say ResearchGate, it is the professional network of scientists and researchers. So you can connect with them. It's easier for you to connect with these people. Now, how is ResearchGate useful? ResearchGate is useful because it connects you with researchers and helps you discover content that is valuable, not just your valuable work, but also the work of other researchers. And it will you can have your research visible for other people to view. You can use ResearchGate to connect with colleagues, co-authors, and specialists in your field. You can even add your research to your profile to make it discoverable by other researchers. So once you have added once you have added your profile to or you have added your research to your profile, it sees there embedded. You have there a embedded uh, picture, so sort of like a theme. Anyway, I'm going to show sample pictures of what it looks like to help get the message across. Okay, so for a while, let me just take this. So continuing. So as I've mentioned, that you can connect with other researchers on ResearchGate. You can add your research to your profile so that it will be easily discoverable, and you can access publications of other people in your field and perhaps from a network that you are interested. And most importantly, you can also ask questions. If you have a research related question, and if anyone from your network knows the question, then they will respond to the question. If, of course, they know how to answer the question. So, as you can see here, this is what I mentioned earlier. So, this is the ResearchGate interface. So, what we have there is, of course, what you see here, similar to that of social media, what you see in your timeline, so to speak, are the papers that are published by people that you follow. In this case, this is what is shown because I follow these people. They're in my network in ResearchGate. So as you can see there, you have the title of the article or the book. Try to see beyond the instructional functions of teachers, a phenomenological study. So you have there, it's a research article. It mentions the research journal, the date of publication, the number of citations, and the number of reads. And if you're using ResearchGate and someone reads your work, uh, you can actually see a ResearchGate user's um, number of readers there. And in fact, it also gives you a breakdown, like from which country is the reader from, provided that those are readers who don't have accounts in ResearchGate. Because if they have an account in ResearchGate, it will have a prompt there that the following researchers have read your paper. Now, there's also a feature in ResearchGate that you your paper can have your paper private, and that would mean that none can see the full paper unless you give them the authorization. So there are cases that if there are people who want to read your paper, so they give you want to read your paper, so they would want you to give them access to your paper. In fact, there's this thing that happened with me. I was cited by one particular paper, and I was intrigued because I wanted to know how I was cited by this other researcher. So what I did was I sent a message to that researcher asking if I could grab a copy of the paper because the paper has a paywall, which would mean that I need to shell out a certain amount of money so that I can read the paper. So luckily, the author was kind enough to give me a full paper, even though I did not pay for any amount. Because I believe that that's actually allowable by other publications for that authors who have their papers published in a paper, they seem to have some level of a copyright for as long as they don't publish the same paper in another journal. So there, I was able to see how I was cited by the author, and it feels good to be cited by other researchers because this would mean that your paper is not just paperwork, but it is read by people and it is acknowledged as a contribution to the existing body of knowledge. So that's it. So this is basically what you see in ResearchGate. So aside from that, there's even a beta feature. They call it the Research Spotlight. Um, it, Try to imagine a pin post in Facebook. That's technically what the Research Spotlight is. So instead of pinning a post, what happens here in ResearchGate, vis-a-vis Facebook, is that in ResearchGate, if you have a Research Spotlight, so you're going to feature one of your published work and you're going to mention the the highlights of your paper, like what kind of contribution has it made to the existing body of knowledge, Is it really a significant contribution to the existing body of knowledge because the findings that you have found was quite peculiar from what was the dominant existing results. So those kind of things. Okay, so there. Now going back to why is ResearchGate useful? Of course, as I mentioned earlier, that it is a database, so you can share your knowledge and expertise by answering questions. So you can actually ask questions. And if you stumble upon any question, you can actually answer it. And you can even engage in dynamic discourse with other researchers in the same platform. Of course, you can get your stats on your work and find out who's been reading and citing your work. So I mentioned this earlier that if a ResearchGate user is reading your paper, then it will give a prompt so that you will know who was reading your work, who found your paper interesting. But for those who are reading your paper but they don't have a ResearchGate account, they don't show you a profile, but they just give you a breakdown like from what country is the person reading from. And aside from that, there are also cases that you can explore the latest jobs matched to your research profile. So depending now on your acumen, your research acumen, certain job openings will be available and it's in your discretion whether you want to apply for the position. And of course, you can share preprints and other early work to get feedback from before other papers published it. So this one is not not really a popular practice for other researchers, although it's quite good to have your paper published. Um, to have your paper published as preprint. But the danger with preprint is that there is a tendency for your paper to be scooped. Now, when I say scoop, this refers to that experience. This refers to the experience that someone else will grab your paper and have it published in a journal. Although I haven't been scooped before, but it would be very unfortunate. Imagine you publish your paper as preprint, and your purpose of having it published as preprint was to get feedback from other scholars in the platform of ResearchGate. But what if someone scoops it? Others might say that there's a way of protecting your work by by coming up with a DOI or digital object identifier, which ResearchGate also does. You can actually generate a DOI for preprints in ResearchGate. But then again, that's a long and tedious process when I speak of trying to argue whether the copyright of such published work is yours or not. Now, luckily, in my case, I have not experienced what you call this scooping. Although that's a very unfortunate case that is now going into the realms and boundaries of plagiarism issues, which is a different uh, issue of research altogether. But anyway, let's now move on to what I mentioned earlier. I wasn't able to show this because of some problems with the screen. So what I did was I just screenshot. So this is what you see in your Google Scholar. So if you're able to finish making up a Google Scholar profile, this is what you see. Now it's quite different from ResearchGate, as I mentioned earlier, because here you can't really send a message directly through the interface of Google Scholar because Google Scholar does not have that. What Google Scholar has though is you have there a list. As you can see in the screen, you have there your name, your institution, and your and the field that you're specializing in. In my case, I have language teaching, social science, applied linguistics, and educational technology. So you have there your current number of citations, your current H index, and if you try to go lower, you have there a list of co-authors. So if you try to access this one in Google Scholar, once you have a profile, you can click any of the publication here, and you will be redirected to the hyperlink of your publication, provided that your paper is indexed in Google Scholar. Now, as you notice here, you have there cited by, so you have numbers, then you have the year. The year, by the way, is the year of publication because you can sort your papers based on the highest number of citations, or you can sort it in the years of recency. In my case, this particular paper is prompted as the first paper because of the number of citations it has. But going back to what I was trying to say earlier, so yes, so if you click the cited by 9, so once you click that, you'll be redirected to a list of articles that cited your paper. So the same can be said for those. Now, you can actually manually add details to your published papers in Google Scholar, but you can't really add the hyperlink. So if you try to click beside the word title, the plus button, you'll be redirected to another the same interface for Google Scholar, but you're going to either add you'll be prompted to choose between add article or add article manually. So if you're going to choose add articles, you're going to choose from a bunch of papers that are indexed in Google Scholar. You have to make sure though that if you're going to add an article with papers indexed in Google Scholar, it has to be papers that you published because that will be very indecent if you're going to add papers that are not yours to begin with. Although there are certain cases that certain papers indexed in Google Scholar are missing names. Maybe I believe that's something to do with the data input coming from who uploaded your paper in their database. So that's why you have to be very, very careful and check if you're going to have your papers published. You have to double check if your name is properly spelled out, or else your name will be different, or the name will not be picked up in Google Scholar, or worse, it will be picked up in Google Scholar, but your name will not be verified in Google Scholar. So you have to be very careful with that once you're inputting details. But you can actually add articles or add the details of your articles manually, but you can't really add the paper in itself. It has to be picked up by Google Scholar, and that's beyond your control. Although there are certain cases they can work around this one. In my case, what I did is I uploaded my paper in ResearchGate and Academia, and perhaps in a few days, 5 days, or maybe it would the the number of days vary. In some cases, it gets indexed in Google Scholar in a matter of 5 days. Others takes months or even years before it is indexed in Google Scholar. Lucky for those who have their papers indexed immediately. So, what are some platforms that you can use in order to have your papers indexed in Google Scholar? So, I mentioned earlier you can use ResearchGate. Just make sure that you'll be inputting the correct items in your paper. Okay. Like when I say correct items, like the name of the journal, the name of the co-authors, your name as the lead author, the complete and yes, the complete name, yeah, the complete name in of your paper. So what are other platforms? You have ResearchGate, and you can also use Academia. Academia. So yeah, so that's technically how you can mobilize your your papers in, or how you can mobilize your research across different platforms. So you can use ResearchGate, and you can use Google Scholar. I do hope that everyone here learned a lot from this very short lecture. I do hope that I was able to walk you through how you can actually use Google Scholar and ResearchGate. And I do hope to meet you in those platforms, and maybe we can collaborate with respect to research practice. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for a rich content presentation which can impact our knowledge seeker surely. After your presentation, I hope our knowledge seeker can learn something new, which was our only intention. Learn and grow together, IGP Knowledge Seeker. Once again, thank you so much, sir, for your presentation. Now, sir, it's time for our question answer session, which is the one more valuable part of our regular webinar. Honorable sir, please stay with us. After a short video, we will back in our session part 2, which is the question answer part. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a webinar certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a webinar certification and online quiz competition. Welcome back, sir. Welcome back to our participant. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a webinar certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a webinar certification and online quiz competition. Sir, our first question is from Leo Dream. Is there anything the public should consider when reviewing your findings outcome? For example, can the findings outcome be exploited at all culture, gender, individual sexual orientation, or age groups? If not, what should they consider?
That's a very good question. Thank you very much. So, yeah, what should be considered when you're going to review your findings and outcomes? First and foremost, you try to see when you're going to publish your data. You take a look at the ethical considerations of your paper. Now, to say that data can be extrapolated to all cultures, gender identity, sexual orientation, or age groups, if not, then what should they consider? Well, it would depend now on the objective of your paper. Because by looking into the objective of your paper, you will now consider what kind of indicators will be applicable to your study. Like, can you use gender identity, sexual orientation, or can you use age groups for that? But for the most part, you stick with your ethical considerations, whether it is applicable to that particular study. Yeah, that's it. That's my answer.
Thank you so much, sir, for some our participants. So once again, thank you so much, sir, for your time in IGP. We have learned a lot from you with new topic. It will add some value to our day-to-day activity along with our academic and professional growth. Honorable sir, hope to see you again with a new topic and a new day. Thank you, sir. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Honorable sir, before we move to the next, if you want to leave this studio, you can. Dear
Okay,
IGP
thank you.
knowledge seeker, welcome, sir. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, it's time for the webinar certification process, the most attractive and powerful part of our regular webinar. After a short video, we will start our webinar certification. After webinar certification, we have an online quiz competition and quiz certification. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, it's time for the webinar certification process, the most attractive and powerful part of our regular webinar. After a short video, we will start our webinar certification. After webinar certification, we have an online quiz competition and quiz certification. Dear IGP, certification process. Visit www.edoigp.com. Please make sure it presents on our website. Find a learning session and get enrolled. After watching opening part 1, move to the next with the learning test passing mark 80%. If passed, back to the course again to download your certificate if you fail to retake the quiz. Download your certificate in PDF or JPG. For your attention, I am going to share the procedure again. Visit www.edoigp.com. Please make sure it presents on our website. Find a learning session and get enrolled. After watching opening part 1, move to the next with the learning test passing mark 80%. If passed, back to the course again to download your certificate. If you retake the quiz, download your certificate in PDF or JPG. Dear Rajip and also it's time for the most engaging part of this webinar, which is an online quiz competition, which is our regular webinar activity. We change the fee process for online quiz competition. Note that after life, no one can participate. Now, time for the online quiz competition. To join the online quiz competition properly, please follow my instruction carefully. Now, time for the online quiz competition. To join the online quiz competition properly, please follow my instruction carefully. Visit www.edoigp.com, sign up or sign in. Without this, you cannot join live quiz competition anymore. Browse the live quiz button or give a link. Find the session name and join with your logged website or user account. Click join and wait for a few minutes for others to join. Enjoy an online live quiz competition. After the quiz, we will issue a certificate for top 10 as previously, which you can find on our official Facebook page and group Institute of Global Profession. After a short video, we will start our quiz session. With 17 people, we are going to start our quiz session right now. First question is assessing someone's behavior access many different settings would be what kind of research design? Is it option 1 or option 2? Option 2 is the right answer. 100% people are right here. Our second question is what is the primary purpose of conducting research across different fields? Is it option 1 or option 2? Option 2 is the right answer. 100% people are right here. Our third question is valid research is a definition for research that is consistent across different studies by different people. Is it true or false? Option 2 is the right answer. 10% people are right here. Our next question is my research can be generous across different individual setting and times it has. Is it option 1 or option 2? Option 2 is the right answer. 74% people are right here. Our next question is field of research exploring expression of genes across different environments. Is it option 1 or option 2? Option 1 is the right answer. 70% people are right here. Our second next question is Charlogical compared of different research methods being used across studies. Is it true or false? Option 2 is the right answer. 44% people are right here. Our next question is cross-sectional research equal to observe different age group access the same time. Is it true or false? Option 1 is the right answer. 95% people are right here. Our next question is Antarctica is useful in conducting various research topics across different seasons. Is it true or false? Option 1 is the right answer. 44% people are right here. Our second last question of the session is distributing risks and benefit associated with research across different group of people. Is it option 1 or option 2? Option 2 is the right answer. 6% people are right here. Our last and final question of the session is research has indicated that different instruction is used infrequently across the country. Is it true or false? Option 1 is the right answer. 55% people are right here. Congratulations to our online quiz competition in top 10. Congratulations again. We will take a few minutes for finalizing the result. After that, we will issue our online quiz competition certificate on official Facebook page and group Institute of Global Professional. Congratulations to our online quiz competition in top 10. Congratulations again. We will take a few minutes for finalizing the result. After that, we will issue our online quiz competition certificate on official Facebook page and group Institute of Global Professional. Congratulations to our online quiz competition in top 10. Congratulations again. We will take a few minutes for finalizing the result. After that, we will issue our online quiz content certificate on our official Facebook page and group Institute of Global Professionals. At the end of our session, we can say properly feed your skill. Never stop learning, cause life never stop teaching us. Be happy, stay safe. See you again and again. We want your participation in every program. If you want to live a happy life, try to a goal, not a people of things. Albert Einstein. Before I say hit the like button, again wants to thank all IGP knowledge seekers for your active participation as well. See you again in the next session. Thank you.